So here we are in the shop, and I know, and I've done this before, and I've said this before. It's been a while since I put out a video, but in a minute, you will fully understand exactly why and everything that's been taking up my time. And of course, I could have filmed all of it, but in my mind, I just need to get the jobs done. So let's get into what this video is all about. So this is the current state of the Toro Grandstand. Now, any of you that have been following me for a long period of time know the deal with this mower and the story with this mower. So let's just rewind a little bit and go through some things about this mower and why it is currently in the state that it's in. So as many of you know, a couple years ago I bought this mower, and I didn't need the mower. I bought it as a project mower. I really didn't have too much to do over the winter, and I was looking for something to do to keep myself occupied. And at the time, you guys know that the mower I had that was always one of my favorite mowers that I got rid of a long time ago when I bought my Tiger Cat 2 brand new was my Exmark Vantage Stander. Well, the closest thing to it is a Toro Grandstand. They're almost identical. And I looked all over and could not find an Exmark Vantage 52 Stander. Just couldn't find one anywhere, and any that I did find, guys wanted a ton of money for machines with a lot of hours on them, and I just simply wasn't going to pay it. Well, I ended up finding the Grandstand, and the guy had two of them. If you guys remember correctly, a lot of this might be very familiar to a lot of you. I found it, the guy had two of them, and I got to pick which one I wanted. I paid $1,000 for it. He wanted $1,000 for either one, it didn't matter. I picked the one that I thought was in the best shape. The other one was kind of rough, and when you drove it around, it felt kind of rough, wasn't real responsive. So the one that I picked drove perfectly fine. Definitely needed a few things to it, but it wasn't nothing that it was too crazy. And like I said, I was looking for a project mower to just do little bits at a time, work on it throughout the winter, and give me a winter project to work on. So I ended up picking this one here, and I did a lot to it. Now, I did a whole video series on it, on all the stuff I did to it. I practically rebuilt almost the whole mower. Everything was, nothing had been greased on it or maintained, so I had to pull out grease fittings and use a torch and heat up all of the joints to get the hardened, packed in grease that was in them, because they wouldn't take grease. I had to get it to liquefy and pour out of there, so then I could put new grease fittings in everywhere and get it to take grease. I had to put a new pad on the back, the new flap that goes from the pad to where you stand. The stand platform, I had to put a new pad on that. Put new rubber grips on all of the controls, like for the deck up and down and for the parking brake. I put new tires on it. I just did a ton of work to it. And like I said, there's a whole video series on that. So if any of you guys want to go back and watch any of that aren't familiar with what I'm talking about. But then I ran the mower for the whole season, and it was great, absolutely great. I loved it. I loved the way it cut. I love how comfortable it was. And I actually liked it more than the Exmark Vantage. So it quickly became my favorite mower. And I also liked it how on the back of the Grandstand, you could take the bolts out of the rear axle on both sides, and you could extend it out and re-bolt it. It has the different positions for it to make it a wider stance, which made it phenomenal on hills. It's just a great mower all the way around, and it did me really well all season. It did phenomenal with mulching up leaves, even with just regular blades on it. It was just a great mower, just an all-around, all season, every part of the season, spring, summer, fall. It shined everywhere that I used it. So it quickly became my favorite mower, like I said. Well, then we go to the season of 2021, this season here. And it did great for the first part of spring, and then all of a sudden it started having issues where it was popping, backfiring, losing power. It just wouldn't do anything. So I took it to my buddy's shop, and he said it was going to be a while because he just didn't have the time to get to it. And this is a buddy of mine I've mentioned in different videos. He's an older guy and he has a small engine repair shop, and if it's something that I'm not too comfortable with working on, or if it's something I don't have the time to work on, then I take it to him, and he's just much smarter than I am when it comes to that certain aspects of mechanical work. So I took it to him and he had it for a couple months. And then in the meantime, I had bought a couple more mowers, but he had got back to me and said, the mower's fixed, it's good to go. So I was super excited, and I went and I picked it up. And when I picked the mower up, I took it to the first lawn, and it seemed great for about 5 minutes, but then it started popping, spitting, sputtering again, losing power. It just wouldn't perform the way that it was supposed to. So I took it right back to him. He called me 2 days later and told me that he found a bent push rod in it, and he fixed it, did everything to it, fixed it, and I got it back. So then I ran it for about 2 months, and the thing was just awesome. Back to how it should be, was running great. And then here we are toward the end of the season. And well, not toward the end of the season, it was probably about beginning of August, mid-August, and the blades kept cutting on and off. So I figured the clutch was bad. It was an original clutch on it. I figured the clutch was bad, so I ordered a new clutch, and I took the old clutch out. Come to find out, the wires had come loose on it, and they got caught in the belt, and it ripped the wires coming out of the clutch. So the clutch wasn't actually bad, it just tore the wires, and that was the problem. But I had already had the new clutch and figured it was original clutch. I'll put the new one on it anyway. So I put the new clutch on it, and it just lacked power. It ran great, didn't pop, spit, sputter, nothing. It ran great, but it wouldn't throttle down. I'd move the throttle control all the way up, and it would slowly build up to RPMs, but then as soon as you engage the PTO, it would bog back down, and it didn't have forward or reverse speed the way that it should. It was really lagging in power. So I put it aside, and I finished up the rest of the season with the other mowers. But in the meantime, I took the clutch that I'd pulled out of it and I rewired it. So everything was back the way it should be. And my first thought was the new clutch wasn't compatible to this mower. I've had that issue in the past where the new clutch would, I'd put a new clutch in it and it wasn't compatible, and it would just draw too much power. It's kind of a rare thing, but I've had that issue before. So a couple days ago, I decided I was going to tear it apart now that I have downtime. And it's been snowing here, so I figured I have downtime, shop time, I'm going to pull it apart and put the old clutch back in. So I did that. It did not fix the problem. So I took it back over to my buddy who had it before, and I said, I know you're busy right now, I know you don't have room to put this mower in here and work on it, but I want you to hear it and I want you to see what you think. Well, he did, and he did some diagnostics on it, and he said, I'm almost 100% confident that the governor is what your issue is inside the engine, in the bottom half of the engine, but it's connected to the cam. He said, so it's all one piece. You got to pull the engine apart, and essentially since you have it apart, you might as well just rebuild it. The engine has 1,800 hours on it. It's the original engine, and you might as well just rebuild it. Total rebuild, you're looking at anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 if you do it the right way and you replace everything in it and just completely rebuild the engine. So at that point, I was figuring $1,800 or $1,000 to $1,200 to rebuild an engine that has 1,800 hours on the block. What do I do? So I started looking online, and I found a brand new engine, the same exact engine that's on it. It's a Kawasaki FS691V. It's a 23 horsepower engine, and I figured, what's the cost to just replace it? Everything else on the mower is new. Everything else has been redone on the mower. We've already gone over. It's my favorite mower. I really don't want to get rid of it. So with the price of mowers nowadays, you're looking at 13 grand plus to replace a mower like this. So what do I do? And I found on Jack's Small Engines, I could get the same engine for about $1,500 with free shipping. So do I spend $1,000 to $1,200 and rebuild an engine that has 1,800 hours on the block, or do I just replace the engine? So I ordered a new engine. So for $1,500 and free shipping, I'm getting a brand new engine and replacing the engine on this machine. So that brings us to the current state that it's in. So I disconnected everything yesterday. It's actually very easy. You disconnect just the wires. That's pretty much what it is. For your voltage regulator, these go to your solenoid that's right there. And then you have a couple ground wires, your battery wires. You drop the main pulley and the clutch. Just drop it straight down, and then you have 4 bolts, 1 in each corner, and disconnect the fuel lines. That's all you do. It's super simple. So I did that yesterday, and then I figured when I get some help and somebody can come give me a hand, I'll lift it off there. It's a pretty big engine. And I shifted it to disconnect one of the wires, and I was thinking, this thing's not that heavy. So I picked it up. I put blocks down underneath because of the shaft that comes out of the bottom of the engine. Put blocks underneath. I picked it up and I set it right here on the bench. Wasn't that bad. It's not that heavy. So the new engine does not come with the exhaust, obviously, or the mounting brackets. So I have to pull those off there. But other than that, I have a brand new engine on its way here. So the new engine will be here soon. They said, I think 2 to 10 days shipping, just depending. So it should be here soon, and I will get the new engine put in. And this machine should be perfect and ready to go for spring. I'm super excited about that. So in the meantime, before, I'm sure I didn't mention it already, people will ask, the carburetor, you can tell it looks like brand new. I put it in my ultrasonic cleaner, and I completely cleaned the carburetor. That was good to go. I checked the valves. Everything was fine there. No bent push rods again. I checked everything else. The main issue is the governor, this is the governor arm right here. And it's inside the bottom half of the engine. That's what I was referring to. So I done everything to this thing to try to rectify that problem. So like I said, the only option at that point was rebuilding this engine. And this is the clutch that I had put in it. So now I still have a brand new clutch. Come to find out that wasn't the problem. So if need be, I still have that brand new clutch, and I might just put that in versus the old one that has a lot of hours on it. I'll switch that back out before I put the new engine in it. So if you guys have watched my last video or two, you know that I had the issue with the V-Ride 1 where the axle shaft snapped and the wheel came right off. That has been fixed and repaired. We've been back out and running that. That one's good to go. But I have a ton of machines that just need maintenance over the winter. So I really am kind of strapped for time, but I should have plenty of time to get everything done before spring. The V-Ride 2 really doesn't need anything, just needs a bunch of regular maintenance done to it. It needs a bath. They all need a bath. So I'll have to do that. This one here, same thing, maintenance. This one here, if you guys have been following me on Instagram, you know that Ken from KLC sent me the new hydro unit. I rebuilt that whole thing, got that completely back together. That machine is good to go now, so just regular maintenance on that, plus it needs a bath. The Stander 32, this thing has never given me any issues. This thing's just been flawless, so that just needs a bunch of regular maintenance done to it. The Windstorm, again, maintenance to it in a bath. And the X-Mark Vantage, this started having some issues as well with lagging in power, and then all of a sudden it just started working again. It was fine. But this is an EFI engine, and I think this is something electronical that was giving me issues with that. But most of the time it runs perfectly fine. But again, sometimes it lags in power, so that's a machine that I have to address this winter. And then the Walker MT SD that you guys have seen that I bought over the summer. I really had no need to buy that machine. I just got a smoking deal on it. It came with a 42-inch mulch deck, which I've never tried a mulch deck on these machines yet. So I'm super eager to try that out, even though it's a small deck. I want to see how it'll do. But this machine here, it just popped smoke, burnt oil like crazy when I got it. Come to find out, if you guys watched that video, the head was shot on the one side, so I replaced the entire head, put new valves in it, new lifters, and new push rods, and rebuilt that. It runs great now, but every once in a while it puffs a little bit of smoke, so I'm not really sure what the issue is with that. If need be, again, that's like $2,100 to replace that engine in there, but not a hard job. I could probably do it in a day. So I may do that, but that's kind of a back burner mower right now. I really don't need it, but it would definitely be beneficial to have that machine for next year. which I probably wouldn't even run that 42-inch mulch deck on it. I would take my 56-inch side discharge deck and put it on that machine. There's the mulch deck right there. So I would probably just run that 56 on there, which essentially it would be the same as my B19 that I had before that I got rid of. I should have never gotten rid of. Billy reminds me every day, but only now this is a 23 horsepower or 20 horsepower engine, and the one I would replace it with would be the 23.5 horsepower. It'll fit right in there, which is the same thing this machine has, a 23.5 horsepower. So that would be the deal with that one. So as you guys can see, there has been a lot. There's been a lot going on, a lot of maintenance stuff I've had to do and I've been working on, and a lot of maintenance stuff that I still have ahead of me before this winter is over. A lot of things I just need to get done before next spring. There's also a huge update on this building that I'm in, which in a couple weeks I will fully update you guys on that once everything is finalized. So you guys will get a full update on that as well. We have about 4 or 5 cleanups left to do and 2 gutter jobs to do, gutter cleanings. We've been getting a bunch of snow, 1 to 2 inches at a time, nothing plowable, but at the same time, it's been enough that we can't finish our cleanups. But now today, I think the high is 45. The snow is finally slowly melting. Tomorrow is supposed to be 61 degrees, but a 40 to 60 mile an hour winds. So that poses a problem. But then for the next 2 weeks, they're calling for high 40s, low 50s every day. So we'll definitely be able to get back out there and finish up our cleanups. Not a problem at all. We should have no problem getting that wrapped up. I've been having my brother work with me. He's been great. So we really only need, I'll have the Walker GHS to bag with again. But what we've been doing is running just the Windstorm and a couple backpack blowers to knock out the cleanups we did last week, and using like the V-Ride 1 to push piles when we need to push them. When we get so many, we get the Windstorm or the backpacks and get them in rows and then just use this to push them. I am definitely looking into a plow for next year. It will not be the JRCO like the one that Roscoe had. I like that. It's nice. It's light, but at the same time, I just don't think it's durable enough. So I will be looking into the detach or dethatch, whatever, that system that Mitchell Gordy runs. I'll give you a quick update on this. If you guys remember correctly, I did the video on this where I put this this ramp system on here. This thing has been a lifesaver this year. I absolutely love this thing. And it's super simple because there's one bolt underneath. I unbolt it and then unplug the harness for the LED lights that are on the back of it. And then me and another guy, like me and Connor, just pulled it off my other truck and we slid it right into the receiver on this one, put the bolt back in and plugged it back in, and that's how easily it converts from one truck to another. So this has been great. Definitely love having this thing. So that's the update on this. People ask me what the weight rating is on this. I'm not even sure. I'm sure it's probably on his website, Toro, who makes these out of Florida. It's probably on there, but like I said, I've run these mowers up in there. I've run the Walker up it. I don't know how many times. I've run the Windstorm up it. Plus me, I'm like 210 pounds. So those machines plus that, I believe that's right around 725 pounds, 750 plus my 210 pounds. I know that weighs 750 plus my 210 pounds. So it's no issue. It can definitely handle it. So that's the update as far as that goes. So as soon as I can get back out there and knock out the rest of these cleanups, I will film that for you guys because we're in no rush right now to get these cleanups done. Everybody knows the weather around here. My customers have been great. So I've already been getting a ton of calls for lawns people want me to look at for next year. They weren't happy with their guy this year, and they want me to give them a bid now, so they already have it set in place for next spring. So this time of year, and it happens to me every year, calls come in for new lawns. I usually get more calls for it in the fall than I do in the spring. I get a lot in the spring, that's for sure, but I usually get more in the fall than the spring because people are just at the end of the season. They've had it, they're done, and they want something in place versus waiting till last minute in the spring to find someone new. So 2022 is already ramping up to be a hell of a year for us, and I'm super excited about that. The labor is going to be my issue next year. So I'm going to start working on that over the winter, get that set in place for next year. I definitely need to find a full-time guy. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, this is the update. This is what's been going on with us here. And we will see what happens from here. But I will film more stuff coming up. And as I do some of the maintenance on this stuff, maybe I'll film putting this engine in. I don't know. It just, when I get into projects mechanical like that, sometimes I just think, yeah, I'm going to film this, and it just doesn't happen because I just really get into it. My hands are all greasy, and I don't want to be touching my camera, so it just doesn't always happen. But I'll try to do whatever it is that I can do to get you guys some footage. But I will film our last few cleanups, and you guys will be seeing me there. So as of right now, this is the update. That's where I've been, and on to the next chapter, right?